Section 6.1, Example 2 on page 372, we have a histogram is a graph that can display data from a frequency table. A histogram has one bar for each interval. The height of each bar shows the frequency of the data and the interval it represents. There are no gaps between bars. The bars are usually of equal width. So for example 2, we have the data below are the numbers of hours per week a group of students spent watching television. What is a histogram that represents the data? First, notice that our minimum value is 0 and our maximum value is 22. From 0 to 22, we have 23 values. This is close to 24, which is divisible by 6, so intervals of 6 would be reasonable. Before we can create our histogram, we will create a frequency table using the data above. To create intervals that include 0 through 22 with 6 values each, we can start at 0, and 0 through 5 will give us 6 different values. The next interval will start at 6 and go to 11. The following interval will be 12 through 17, and then we have 18 through 23. Notice that we don't actually have the value 23 in our data, but the intervals all have to have the same amount of values. So even though a value may not appear within the data, we still have to include everything between 0 and 23. We can color code our data to count how many times we see a number within each of these intervals. From 0 to 5, we have 6 values. From 6 to 11, we have 5 values. From 12 to 17, we have 3 values. And from 18 to 23, we have 1 value. Now we will take this data and turn it into a histogram. Notice that our labels on what we usually call our x-axis look a little bit different. Instead of having a tick mark for each space, we're going to label the interval instead. So this first bar represents the interval 0 through 5. That occurred 6 times within our data, so this bar is going to reach all the way up to 6. The next bar represents the interval 6 to 11, which occurred 5 times, so this bar will go up to 5. Notice that it is touching the previous bar. We will never have any gaps. Even if the number 5 or 6 didn't appear in our data, they still are included in the intervals. The next bar represents the interval from 12 to 17, which occurred 3 times, and our final bar is from 18 to 23, which only occurred once. Not only do we not have any gaps, I want you to also notice that the width of these bars is all about the same, and that is because our intervals should all have the same amount of numbers in them. The frequencies don't have to match, but going from 0 to 5, 6 to 11, 12 to 17, 18 to 23, those are all ranges of 6. Once you have filled in all of your bars and labeled them, you are done with your histogram. The work for this problem is written out on the next few slides. And now I would like you to try homework number 3 on page 372. In exercises 3 and 4, use the data to make a histogram. For number 3, we have restaurant waiting times in minutes.